We'd fly our airplane along, and we know where we wanted the bombs to go, and so we'd roll in and we'd do the best we could to put our rocket right where the truck was, or where the pile of supplies was, where the aircraft gun was. And we'd fire, and if we hit it, we'd say, hit my smoke. If you died, you'd fire maybe two and say, okay, 1/3 from my southernmost smoke to my northernmost smoke, that's where the truck is. And then they would have to go, I can see the smokes. They dive down, drop the bombs, and blow up the truck, and if the truck got blown up, then it blocked the road for a while because there was a burning truck. And at night it was even weirder, our little O2 mission. We had these logs on our airplane. They were these flares, so we dropped them, and they'd float down and burn like a red little, I don't know, like a red log in the jungle, bright. And then we'd have to drop a couple more. Now if there's no moon, it's pitch black, and you're telling some poor guy coming in at 16,000 feet, you see those two red markers on the ground? Now if you'll go one halfway between, and then you go one half a length up this way, and they go, right, sure. Honest, we guarantee you there's a road down there. And they did the best they could. So it was very difficult. We came along with a great technology. We came along with AC-130 gunships. They got a C-130 transport, put big guns in it, and they put a whole bunch of fancy radar stuff in it. And they could drive along, and they had a whole team of navigators with scopes, and they could see trucks, and they could tell the pilot, I'll mark where it is, and his gun would lock into where the trucks were, and they could just blow up trucks. It was just incredible that was so successful they were. The problem is C-130 is a big transport, and so if they're coming trucks like crazy, that's great fun, but the aircraft guns are pretty tough on them too. So we lost several. So when it got too hot, the C-130s that could not only find them but kill them had to back off, and then we were back with our little O2s dropping these little red markers around, hoping for the best. So it was interesting fighting. So I got back my second tour, and luckily, because of my experience, they said, you don't have to be an instructor anymore. You've done that. Would you like to work the Green Beret mission? So then I got to work the Green Beret support mission, that special operation thing. That was much, much more difficult to do. How am I doing on a script? Am I covering the stuff?
Yeah.
Okay. We were limited to basically south of the DMZ and not going to Laos. Well, it's big, rough country out there, but there's only so many places. And the intelligence said it was very, very worthwhile because we had so many Green Beret teams and so many of us FACs dedicated to support them. And we had Army helicopter guys that were supposed to support us too. And the amount of bad guys they had trying to keep us from getting in there and get established was phenomenal. So they had to man something like 10, we were told 10 to 15 North Vietnamese soldiers had to be on duty to counter our teams going in. So it was a very effective thing, but unfortunately with the limited area, our losses were really terrible. The guys I work with, there were 22 guys, again these phenomenal guys, 22 guys came over as a unit of Green Berets, and they're for a 2-year tour, and they were ending as I was finishing up, and 3 went home. They lost 19. One of the guys went berserk. I'll tell about that mission later. He was the only American survivor on top of this hilltop. And he came back and started drinking, and just kept drinking, and then he decided to machine gun the entire building until he started shooting at some people who were smart enough to get down, and he just machine gunned the top of the building, and they sent him home with a straitjacket. The other guy was a guy who I flew with, incredible guy. We have different medals in the U.S. The top one is the Medal of Honor. You've heard about that. The number 2 has different names. The Army calls it the Distinguished Service Cross. The Air Force calls it the Air Force Cross, and the Navy calls it the Navy Cross. Then the third one after that is the Silver Star, and all the services have that. And then one below that is the Distinguished Flying Cross. And so this guy had gotten, I think, the Distinguished Service Cross and 2 Silver Stars and about 5 Purple Hearts. And he was just the neatest guy in the world. He was so cool. He said, I can't drink. He'd come to our parties and say, I can't drink because drinking makes me go crazy. But he was just a great guy to be around. He was so cool. And these guys were just fantastic. And one of the reasons I was successful in my job was something that the Air Force never dealt with, was that I just by luck of the draw had 28 vision in one eye and 25 vision in the other. So that really helped because I can look down on the ground and I can see it, 2 barrels of a 23mm tracking beam, where somebody who had 20/20 vision would never be able to see it. And so that was very helpful. And then it was kind of interesting when I worked with these Green Beret guys, and I remember one mission where they were out towards Ashour Valley, and here was this guy, Bingham is his name, one of twin brothers. His other brother was missing in action, so presumed dead. And Bingham was this tall, lanky, blonde guy with a great sense of humor. And he's down there fighting one day, and we come up to support him, and he's got to think between his little guys and his Green Berets, there may have been 10 of them. And in about a bunch of bomb craters. And the North Vietnamese are coming in, just in waves. And my job was to back these guys out and get these guys back out. They'd done their job. They attracted a whole bunch of North Vietnamese. So I'm directing, and it's in the valley, it's this way. So I'm directing Air Force F-4s to bomb the North Vietnamese soldiers this way on both sides of them. And then as they broke up their vests, and I say, so you stay up high, then I could bring the helicopter gunships in to shoot east to west on either side of them. And I'm watching down there, and so I'm talking to the fighters, Air Force fighters on the UHF radio, talking to the helicopters on VHF radio, talking to my Green Beret friend on my intercom, and talking to the Green Beret guys on the ground on the FM radio. I'm looking down at this guy, and he's this blonde guy. You can see his flashing blonde eye. He's not wearing a hat. He's got a pistol there, and I see him pop up and shoot some guy from about 8 feet away. Mm-hmm. He's just shooting guys, and he gets on the radio, and seems like a minute later, he says, "Psst, Covey, Covey." I said, "What?" He says, "I love you." And to the Green Beret, he says, "Oh, forget it. Don't do that. Worry about that right now. Just go kill somebody." He says, "Oh, you're no fun." And then I'm watching. He's popping up and shooting guys, and I'm watching this thing, and it's like watching a movie. And I'm at because of where I'm directing things, I'm maybe 500 feet in the air, and watching this whole show. And we backed the North Vietnamese. We killed a lot of folks on their side. And in this current Afghanistan war, we have fanatics we're fighting, people who want to see America end, basically Europe as we know it end. Mm-hmm. And I can kind of see where you'd actually think this is, back like the Crusades. This is kind of a religious, ethnic thing. But in the case of the Vietnam War, we're fighting these guys who were driving a cab, who were working in a grocery store, and their side decided they want to come down, and we're in this fight. And they're really nice people. I had no ill feeling against the North Vietnamese guys. They were just guys like us. But it was our job to fight for our side, and since we weren't allowed to try to win the war, which was very, very frustrating, and the anti-war movement, I think, reinforced that, is that if you're going to try to fight a war, you got to win it. And President Reagan, when we had rescued those college students, we went in and fought it like a war. His thing was, if you're going to fight a war, fight it like a war. But we didn't try to win. You'll say, well, gee, Ross, why are you trying to have F-4s with unguided bombs, drop bombs at night to hit a truck, 5 or 6 trucks on a road in the dark? Why don't you go up to North Vietnam? Because I could drive up to North Vietnam, the border, and watch at sunset, and there'd be 60 trucks, bumper to bumper, waiting for the sun to set, to drive into Laos. But we couldn't bomb in there. We couldn't shoot them because they were across the North Vietnamese border. We could have ended the Vietnam War